All right, good morning, Sam.
Hello.
Hi, Sam.
Hi. I gotta lower that.
Okay. Making sure all of our 5th and 6th graders can get into their class as well. Let's see, where's that link? Link. Okay. It looks like Maddie's going to be joining us soon. Okay. Awesome. Here's Maddie. Let me grab.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what we got. So we are actually going to be starting with science today rather than math this morning.
Okay.
So yeah, science, surprise. Nice surprise, right? Science is always fun for me to teach. Hopefully fun for you guys to learn as well. Science. And today is the 18th, in case you have forgotten. You guys have somewhere you can take notes? Yes? Yeah. Awesome. Good, good, good.
Is there more people joining?
There might be. I'm trying to make sure everyone has the right link since it was incorrect on the document, right?
Okay, so like the schedule's wrong?
They told us
yes, so things have been changing a little bit, and so instead of math, because there aren't really, Sam, I think you're working independently on 8B, right?
I am.
Are you or not?
I think so.
Yeah, right, the green book in math.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Yes, you are, because I know there's only 2 of our, older kids who are working on the 8Bs, so 8B math is only going to be on Tuesday and Thursday. Going forward most likely, and so Sam, if you want to pop into that class, you're totally welcome to.
Wait, to do what?
So basically the way that everything is labeled for the math, it is 8B is labeled as 8th grade math.
Okay.
That's the green book that Sam's working out of.
So that's what I'm doing. So
right, and so you're also welcome to join the 7th grade math, which is 7B. Awesome, here's Dylan.
Okay.
Because that's what you've been doing in class with everyone else is the 7B, and that's labeled as 7th grade just because it has 7 in it, so 7B.
Okay, so during math class, I join in with the 7th graders?
Yes, so on Mondays and Wednesdays, you'll be doing the 7B math, but if you want to join Sam specifically, since you're working on independently, you can join the 8th grade math on Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Because that's going to be what you're working on, right, independently. But
so when the schedule says math for me, I join the 7th grade / or 8th grade. I don't know.
Yes, we're gonna. So tomorrow, if it is correct, we'll just tomorrow work with what you've got on the Zoom, and if it's not working, let me know, and I'll make sure you guys get the right one. But next week we're gonna be updating it to make sure it's accurate and that you guys have the right classes. And that everyone can, get the classes they need with the teachers that are going to be teaching it.
Yes.
So for today, let me look at what we've got. Today, after this, you guys are going to have ELA, it looks like, and then probably history, and I think you guys finished the writing skills. So just go off of the Zoom, and if the Zoom list isn't working for today, let me know, and I will make sure that you guys have all of the information. Okay, so let me let Emily know, and then we are going to start with correct 8th grade block 1 link. Okay, awesome. So we are going to start with some notes. Today we are going to be reviewing a little bit, but also going a little bit deeper into plants. And so there's my marker that works. So hopefully you guys have a place to take notes, and at the end of the class, I'm going to be asking you guys to either, if you're taking notes by hand, just hold it up to the camera for me to see it. And if you are taking notes on your computer, you can screen share real quick just so I can see that you've been, taking notes and following along. And I am going to take notes on if you've done that, just to make sure you guys are held accountable for your online classes. So let us look at, let's see. We are, actually, I'll let you guys pick what you want to hear about first. Do you want to do soil or irrigation or pollination? What are you guys in the mood for with plants? Anyone have any preference? Okay, we will just start with pollination then. So we're going to talk about the different kinds of pollination. So some of this, which is not a very good one, some of this might be review, and if it is, then it never hurts to, ooh, that's much better, to go over it again. And then if I'm writing too small on the board, pollination. All right, there we go. So pollination by wind. That's the first one we are going to talk about. So pollination by wind, basically the pollination that I'm going to be talking about is different pollinators and what kind of flowers they are attracted to. So we're going to learn the specifics of like, what do butterflies want? What do bees want when they're looking for flowers to, pollinate, right? So if it's pollinated by the wind, about 20% of species are pollinated by the wind. So 20% pollinated by the wind. And that is actually 20% of angiosperms, which actually means basically that a plant has seeds, right? That's just like seeded plants, right? The plants that we're talking about, the plants that we're learning about, those guys, 20% of them are going to be wind pollinated. And, the wind is not really, it's abiotic, right? It's not a living thing. And so it doesn't really have preferences, right? It doesn't really care what it takes with it. It's going to blow, and whatever, gets picked up with it is going to travel as well. So there's no selective, evolution basically favoring any colorful or scented flowers. A lot of them are small, green, inconspicuous. There's no nectar. They don't smell like anything really. They're just sort of like, they're plants, but they're not like really beautiful, smelling, nice, wonderful plants. They're the wind, right? And so the wind takes whatever it wants. So there's no real selective pressure. No selective pressure for plants, right? So, the wind's going to take me no matter what I look like. So I'm not going to, change the way I am just to attract the wind. So that is the wind, right? So wind is one pollinator, and it actually can pick up a lot of stuff. And I mean, the wind can pollinate anything really, but some plants are specifically relying on the wind to get pollinated. Now, pollination by bees. Let me see, how much can you guys see of my board? Yeah, we'll go this way. And we all know what pollination is, right? Yeah. Thumbs up, nod, yes. Oh, Ivan's here. Okay. There we go. Awesome. Yes, pollination. We all know what pollination is. Yes, Sam knows. Good. Does everyone else know pollination? Can I get a confirmation from Maddie? Awesome. Thank you. Dylan, we know what pollination is. You can just give me a thumbs up. Or type yes. Yes, thank you. Awesome, very good. Okay, and Ivan, hopefully you know what pollination is too. So pollination by bees, right? Which actually is 65% of all plants. Oh, my big head is in the way. 65% of plants are relying on bees to pollinate them, which is over half. When considering how many pollinators there are, bees are pretty important, right? I think bees are pretty important. So the flowers that bees like, they have a delicate, sweet fragrance, right? So it's not too overpowering, but it's sweet, right? It's something that's pleasant smelling, something that bees are attracted to. Sweet smelling. Ooh, notches in the board. Sweet smelling. I'm going to draw a line in red so that we know our difference is here. There we go. So, sweet smelling, and the colors that bees are attracted to are bright, right? Bright colors, usually yellow or blue. Bees don't like red. This red looks pretty boring to them. Bright colors, yellow, blue, not red. Not red. Right. Not red flowers for bees. They don't like red. Let me see. Yes, yeah, bees are pretty important, Ivan. That is right. Bees, we rely on bees a lot. So that's why when you hear people alarmed that the bees are disappearing, that's why, is because they are pretty important, creatures in our life cycle, right? They're pretty important. They make sure that we have plants because we eat a lot of plants. We use plants for a lot of things. We use plants for food and clothing and medicine and building too, right? Wood to build things. So bees are very important. They're small. They can get angry and sting you, but for the most part, you leave bees alone, they will leave you alone, and they will keep pollinating our flowers, which is great. So that is pollination by bees. And actually, the cool thing about bees is that they can see ultraviolet light. They can see UV light. So if you ever hear UV rays from the sun, bees can see those. And so because bees can see those, some flowers actually have ultraviolet coloring on them, like guides on them to attract the bees so they know where to find the nectar, right? And to find so they get the pollen, right? They get the nectar and they bring the pollen to other places. So some flowers have UV guides on them, basically, to show bees where to get the nectar from, which I think is super cool. And you can write down that nectaries are what we call the nectar-producing glands in a flower, right? We know what nectar is, right? It's basically delicious. It's sweet, sweet, sugary liquid, and it's a reward for pollinators for pollinating, basically, right? So they go to a flower, they get some nectar, they go to another flower, get more, and then everything's pollinated. So nectaries are what we call, not nectarines, no N, just nectaries, right? Nectaries equals nectar producing glands. And that blue, so you can see, hopefully, nectar producing glands on flower. Can you see that? Yes, maybe. Yes, beautiful. Nectar producing glands are definitely nectaries. Oh, let me see. Let me let Alan in. Awesome. Okay. So now we've got Alan here. Welcome. Glad you could join us. We are talking about different types of pollination. We have done wind pollination, pollination by bees, and we learned that nectaries are the nectar-producing glands in a flower. So like I said, we are going over what types of flowers attract different pollinators, right? So we did bees, we did wind, and now we're moving on to flies, actually. And did anyone know that flies can be pollinators too? Yes? No? This is where I ask for your participation. Thank you, Sam. Okay, so yes, so flies can be pollinators too, and the way that works is actually things that want to be pollinated or have evolved to be pollinated by, are we good if I erase the bees? Okay, just holler at me if I'm erasing something you're taking notes on. Oh, and Ivan and Alan, I am going to ask you guys to either screen share to show me your notes or hold up notes to the camera at the end of the session so that I know you guys have been taking diligence. So now we are moving on to flies. So flies pollinate flowers that do not smell very good because flies are really attracted to the smell of carrion, rather, rotting flesh, rotting meat. So pollination by flies, right? Which is definitely not the first. Oh, you totally can't see that. Which is definitely not the first first pollinator you think of. Well, that's a little better. Okay. Because usually you're like butterflies, right? Bees, butterflies, wind, moths, bats, but pollination by flies. So, pollination by flies, these flowers smell bad. They smell like rotting meat. And they do that to trick the flies. There's actually something called the carrion flower. And the carrion flower, what it does is it basically smells like rotting meat. And the flies think that it is rotting meat, and so they go and they lay their eggs in the carrion flower, and they leave, but they take the pollen with them, right? As animals do when they leave a flower. So they take the pollen with them and they pollinate other flowers, other places they go to the carrion flowers. But when the eggs hatch, right, the larvae, they can't find any actual rotting meat to eat. And so they die. So the larva dies, but the flower is still pollinated. So kind of weird, right? Not really what you think of. Do we know what carrion is? Does anyone not know what carrion means?
No.
You know what it means, Sam?
No, I don't know what it means.
You know?
There's
Okay.
just no thumbs down, so.
Okay, thank you. Carrion is basically rotting flesh. So the carrion flower, right? Carrion flower smells like rotting flesh, and that's why it's called that. But that's super cool, right? Flies pollinate carrion flowers, and that's how they, reproduce and create more flowers, which, I think is actually a really cool pollinating trick. Trick the flies, then their larva dies, but you're still pollinated. It's really self-sufficient. It's not really a mutually beneficial relationship for the flies, but the flower benefits. Not really, yeah. So we did flies, we did bees. Let's do birds, because birds are definitely pollinators as well, right? Like little hummingbirds. So I'm going to get rid of my wind, half of my board. Hopefully everyone has my Nectaries notes as well. Okay, awesome. So pollination by birds. Mostly hummingbirds. Pollination by birds. Oh, not a great eye, but that's pollination by birds. There we go. So pollination by birds. Usually the flowers are big, right? Because birds are a little bigger than flies or bees. So the flowers have to be a little bigger too. So large, usually red or yellow, right? We like the bright colors. We love the bright colors, right? Because they want to look at the nice bright colors, because obviously when you're pollinating, you want something nice to look at. Usually no odor, because birds do not have a well-developed sense of smell. So it doesn't matter if they smell good. Often no odor. So after we've gone over all of this, you will be able to see flowers out and about and say, this one smells really sweet and it's yellow. A bee probably pollinated this, right? Which is a really cool trivia to surprise friends. Like, whoa, I know what probably pollinated this. And it's, cool party trick. So, no odor. Flowers produce nectar, right? Nectar is a reward for the pollinator. Nectar rewards. Ooh, my writing's not good today. The pollinator. Oh, the good news is that you guys can hopefully, you know, write down what I'm dictating and also read my messy writing, which I love that you can read my messy writing most of the time. So we've got birds, and let's do bats. Bats, because they are awake during the night, obviously want flowers that they're going to be able to see easier in the darkness. So usually bats, pollinating by bats are light colored, so they can see them in, let me see. Try just helping a parent, you guys. Okay. Bats. Let's see. Try. Okay. Oh, yes, let me move my head. Thank you. Okay. So we're doing bats, right? I'm going to move over here and we're going to do bats. Right? Yeah, you guys can see that. Pollination by bats. Usually light colored because we're looking for them at night and we want them to stand out in the darkness, right? Light colored and aromatic, right? Because we want them to smell nice, right? If we're not looking too much for the way it looks, the smell is going to be more of a factor, and if we are not looking too much for how it smells, obviously color is going to be more of a factor. So I will give you guys a second to make sure you can get these notes down, and then we will continue. Okay. Okay. So aromatics smells nice. Like sweet smelling, like just smells nice, right? Aromatic has an aroma, right? If you've ever heard aroma, so it has a nice smell to it, a nice aroma to it. Okay, just communicating with our, can I move? Yes, of course. Thank you. So you can always ask me to move because I realize that sometimes my head is in the way and that is inconvenient for someone trying to take notes. So, yes. How are we doing on notes? Can I get a thumbs up if you guys are good for me to move on? Good, Maddie's good. Alan's good. Dylan's good, thank you. Ivan's good. How you doing, Sam? Almost. Okay. So I'm gonna get rid of my fly since hopefully you've got that one done since that was the earliest one I did. And I let you keep working on the other. So now we are going to look at pollination by moths and butterflies. So these are just sort of getting grouped together because you know they're not super big. Pollination by moths and butterflies. Both flying things with wings, right? Most of our pollinators. Moths and butterflies. So both moths and butterflies detect odors, right? So the flowers are going to be sweetly fragrant, right? Nice fragrance, good smelling. It's really fragrant flowers attract them. And the colors differ actually for moths. So moths and butterflies. Oops, butterflies. You know, my head is in the way. I'll move, I promise. So moths like white or yellow flowers. white or yellow, and butterflies like bright colored flowers. There we go. So brightly colored flowers for butterflies, white and yellow for the moths, right? So there you go. Moths, butterflies, lovely pollinating tricks. The way that flowers attract their pollinators is very useful scientific information that we all are going to have, which is awesome. All right. Let's see, did I get them all? Dang, I got them all. Awesome. So that is all of the different types of pollination by different animals, different factors, what goes into it, what kind of flowers they like, fragrances, colors, whatever attracts them the most to help them spread what they need. All right, I'll give you guys a sec to that. I'm gonna erase my bats and my pollination by birds so that we can move on to seed dispersal. All right, so the next thing we're gonna talk about is seed dispersal. We know what dispersal means? Maybe. Yes, Alan, good. Right, just getting spread out, right? How do seeds get dispersed? How do they get spread around? How do they get moved? How do they get from place to place, right? That is what we are going to be looking at. And there's a few different ways. The main ways are wind, animals, and water. Wind, animals, and water. So if seeds are dispersed by the wind, they will often have sort of a glider shape, right? They're going to be a little wider. They're going to have more surface area so that they can be taken further, right? Wind, usually winged type seeds, right? Usually winged seeds. That way, they're able to travel further and spread their flowers to more corners of the world, right? The goal of a plant is to continue reproducing and, just keep growing, right? Don't die out, keep spreading your seeds. So wind will spread seeds that have more of a winged shape, right? Something a little like this guy. Water. Some seeds and fruits can float for months. That is a long time. You could get pretty far if you are floating for months. Oops, that's 6 no. For months. Or even years. Even a day. An example of a fruit that can float for a month or even a year is a coconut, right? Because they've got that hard exterior to protect it, so it can float for a really long time and get very far before splitting up and being able to plant again. So coconut is an example of a seed that can be dispersed by water. And the last way is animals. Now, how could animals spread seeds, do you think? Anyone have any ideas? Let's see. Any ideas of how animals could spread seeds? Birds, good. How could birds spread seeds? How would that work? What do they do? Once again, this is me asking for participation. How could birds or any other animals spread seeds? Maybe when they pick up a worm, they pick up a seed. Maybe
maybe by like, I don't know, they hold it and then they drop it or something.
Okay, good. If they're trying to move seeds and they get dropped, that could totally work. Any other ideas? It's not just birds, it's other animals too that spread seeds. What if a squirrel stockpiles a bunch of nuts and forgets about them? Do you think that could work too? What if an animal eats strawberries or some other fruit with seeds, and right then there's a waste that comes out the other end of the animal, right? And the seeds don't always get digested, right? Sometimes seeds come out the other end too. So animal excrement can also spread seeds, and sometimes that ends up a really far or a really long ways away from where it started. Like rodents, maybe mice or smaller animals that could find wild strawberries and eat them. So excrement can spread it. If like a squirrel forgets about nuts and can spread it. And actually, some animals or some seeds. Have you ever stepped on like a pointy burr or like something pointy when you're outside, gets stuck in your foot or your hand, or right? Yes, no, have you ever been outside and stepped on something pointy? Yes, right? Sometimes seeds are pointy, so they get lodged in animals, lodged in things, right? And get transported to other places when they're pulled out. So that's another sort of evolutionary thing that some seeds have, so that they can get transferred to further places. So animals could be, so those are some of the ways that animals can spread seeds. Forgotten stockpiles, let's say that would be the squirrel. Seeds in excrement, and pointy seeds lodged and removed. Nice. So those are sort of 3 examples of how animals can disperse seeds and help further a plant's reproduction, right? So I'll give you guys a minute to make sure you have all these notes down, and once you're done with the notes, I would like a thumbs up from you, please, in some way or another. Awesome. Sam's good. Hope you guys are having a good Wednesday. I'm having a great Wednesday so far. And I also have a fun fact for you guys at the end of the session. Awesome, very exciting, Ivan. After seeds in other places. Wait. After seeds in, Maddie, where are you talking about? Usually winged seeds, water, some seeds and fruits can float for months or even a year. Animals, forgotten stockpiles. Oh, excrement. Thank you, excrement. That's EX. Excrement. There you go. Yes, I got you. I'm like, seeds in what? Yes, seeds in excrement. That's my messy writing right there. But yeah, please don't hesitate. Like I said, if my head's ever in the way, right, Sam, thank you for letting me know that my head's in the way and you need to take notes. If I'm ever going too fast or too slow and you're like, Miss Bike, speed it up a little, or Miss Bike, I'm still taking notes, right? Or Miss Bike, I don't know what you're trying to tell me, like, please let me know so I can help you guys, because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we are all able to continue with the content, but I want to make sure everyone's getting it, right? So thank you guys for being communicative and yeah, being awesome, because I'm having a great time teaching you guys. It's awesome to be able to, you know, continue to see you guys, teach you guys. Plus I get to teach you guys some other stuff that I don't usually get to, which is super fun for me. So lovely to be with you guys. Thank you for joining in. I'm having an awesome time. And how are we doing on notes? Anyone still need more time for notes? Sam is ready for me to move on. Alan's good. Ivan's good. All right. Sounds like we're good. Maddie's good. Okay, cool. So we are going to move on. So we did seed dispersal. We did different types of pollination. And now we are going to go into a little bit of soil for our last few minutes. So soil, that is our next headline. Let's get rid of moths and butterflies. And since we're all good in the notes, I'm actually going to erase seed dispersal as well. So, soil. Soil isn't just dirt, right? There's got to be more to soil than just dirt, right? Wouldn't you think? Well, if you think that, then you're right. We are going to learn about some different types of soil, what makes up soil, and all sorts of cool stuff. So, soil is created by the weathering of rock. Now, what does weathering of rock mean? Because that could be anything, right? Do we know what weathering means, right? Yes? Yes, go ahead, Sam. Good, weathering of rock. Okay, so soil starts with, soil starts with weathering of rock. Now, the weathering of the rock creates fissures, right? Weathering of rocks creates mechanical fissures, and the fissures cause the rocks to break apart. There's me. Cause the rocks to break apart, and then we have small pieces. Now, as you know, sand, right, is pretty thick, right? You can hold it in your hand, you can feel it. Now, some dirt soil can be that thick, but some is a lot smaller, like microscopically small, right? So soil grains can vary in sizes. Soil can vary in sizes. There we go, awesome. Writing, not great, but there we go. So that's the beginning of soil, right? So soil starts with the weathering of rocks, creates mechanical fissures, and then we get pieces of different sizes. So then there's also plant roots that can secrete acid to dissolve rock. And then that growth, right, leads to mechanical fracturing. Another way that it can happen is water can freeze in the cracks of rocks. And then as water freezes, it expands, right? So that can create more cracks and fracturing in the rocks that cause smaller pieces to break down. So there's a few different ways, but basically fissures, fracturing, that is how we get the base of soil. Now that's not the only thing in soil though, right? It's not just tiny pieces of rock known as dirt, right? We also have the living organisms, right? So, what am I trying to say? How do I want to say it? Mineral particles, right? So the mineral particles of the rock, mix with living organisms, right? Because we know sometimes there's living organisms in soil. Maybe not the kind you buy at like Home Depot, but mix with living organisms to make up soil. And okay, awesome. All right, so we've got the living organisms. We have got the weathering of rocks, and then we have soil, and then there's one more thing that is mixed with it, because it's not just the living organisms, because sometimes there are decomposing dead organisms, right? And the way you pronounce that is humus. And it's kind of a weird word. I'm going to write it on the board. Mix of living organisms and humus. Kind of looks like hummus, but it's not. There's only one M. But it is humus. It's not hummus, I promise. So the humus is actually remains of dead organisms and other organic matter. So humus is remains of dead organisms and other organic matter. So anything that's not a living organism or a mineral particle in the soil is going to be humus, which we know now is remains of dead organisms and other organic matter, which is pretty cool because I bet you didn't know there was a name for all that in the soil, and now you do. Awesome. So, soil. Glad you guys could join us. I know it took a while, but I'm glad you guys are connected. Okay. Have we got the humus? Anyone still writing humus? Humus. So we're good, I can move on. Okay. So.
Hello?
Hi. How's it going, Robin?
Roman.
Hey, how late am I for class?
Well, we're almost finishing up, but you'll be able to get on to the next one, and this one will be uploaded onto YouTube, so you can watch it as well. So you're totally good.
Stupid thing.
Because I know the link in the morning was on, so it's hard to get on.
Worlds.
Roman, we were just talking about the composition of soil, how it starts with the weathering of rocks.
I can hardly hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, everybody sounds so distorted. I can't hear anything. Whoa.
Can you hear me?
Super distorted. Oh.
Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going because I've only got a few minutes left. And I'm going to
Where's the cheese? I just wanted to
mute that. Roman, can you mute yourself so we don't have that background noise?
I can't, well, it sounds super glitchy, like really distorted.
Okay.
Just turn up your volume.
Okay, no, that's okay. We'll figure it out for the next class.
Kind of.
Make it work.
It sounds like you're talking in really like super slow motion.
Okay, well, just do your best to try and keep up, and we'll make sure you're on for the next one, okay?
Yeah, okay.
So basically, as a recap, today we talked about different pollinators, what kind of flowers they're attracted to, what they smell like, what they look like, how to figure out what probably pollinated the plant you're looking at. We talked about the seed dispersal, how seeds get from point A to point B, and we want to also remember that we went over the basic composition
Am I back?
of soil. Tomorrow we are going to go over a little more soil. We're going to go into more
What just happened?
agriculture.
Ow,
Yeah,
my
you're
ears.
here.
And that is the plan for tomorrow science. Today, thank you guys for joining me. Your next class is going to start at 11 a.m. Thank you for being with us during the technical difficulties. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your 3 blocks, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Ivan, the next class is going to be, let me see. I believe you guys have ELA next. So you guys all have English next. So look for the English link on the Zoom. And if it's not working, just have your parents text me and we'll make sure we get that right one out, okay? Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Oh, okay, bye.
And